100 years. 100 years of telling the stories of ECU, Greenville, and the surrounding areas. Join me, Cannon Gates, and Diego Lerma as we celebrate the East Carolinians' 100-year milestone.
Summer, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am Summer Mitchell. I was a student at East Carolina University between 2011 and 2015. At the time, I was Summer Falgiano. So I recently got married, which is very exciting. I'll get into a little bit of that later on in the conversation. But currently, I am a public relations professional. I've had about a decade of experience after my time with student media and with The Hook, really kind of sharpening my skills as a public relations professional. Started off in agency environments, helping companies like Adobe really kind of bolster their brand awareness as they were growing. From there, had some experience in-house, working with software development companies, again, kind of making sure that those small startup companies are helping to, become leaders in their industry and in their niche. Throughout all of that, I fell in love with technology and all of the wonderful, not only applications, but opportunities that are within the kind of technology industry and sector for folks like us, communicators. And within all of that time, we also kind of were able to identify a need and an opportunity for a podcast that we titled Badasses in Tech, where we aim to really inspire young professionals and students just like yourselves on all of the different opportunities within technology for people like us to kind of grow and become leaders within their own careers. So it's really fun, lots of busy kind of work all the time with, client work, as well as to what we're doing with the podcast. So it's awesome. We have a lot of fun over here. And again, just really excited to be with y'all today.
So Summer, how did you get started at the East Carolinian back when you were here?
Yeah, so my favorite memories, to be honest with you, I started fresh out of high school, essentially. Like as soon as we had that orientation moment for freshman year, I kind of knew right off the bat that I wanted to be in the newspaper world. It probably stemmed from my experience within school, like grade school, writing. I was doing newspaper kind of class there. So I always felt comfortable within the newsroom, so to speak. And, at that moment, as a freshman, the only role that they had available at that time was sports layout designer. And while I was very comfortable within the newsroom, I had no idea about designing. I had no idea really about sports, but it was an opportunity for me that I knew if I just got my foot in the door and figured out all of the things that I needed to know to do this layout job correctly, then maybe, just maybe one day I'll be the editor of, at the time, The Hook wasn't even a thing. I think I was kind of aspiring to be, the editor of the East Carolinian. So I knew, okay, let me just take this designer job and do a really wonderful job with the sports layout designer. I must have did something right, because the next year I was asked to be the production manager, where I oversaw the complete visual design aspect of every single issue of the newspaper. And as y'all know, that's twice a week. During the summer, there was also this big orientation publication that was a pretty big deal. That again was kind of the responsibility of the whole team, but very much kind of for me to be that sign off, that kind of approval person. When you're, a sophomore in college and you're given the opportunity to be this authority, it's scary, but it also gives you the confidence to push forward. I will say, I could not have done it alone. I had wonderful mentors, a wonderful team, wonderful staff that really helped me along the way. But kind of through all of that experience, plus having some opportunity to be the assistant news editor, I really was able to work quite literally my way all around the newsroom. And I think just around that time was when the faculty and staff at that moment wanted to pursue what they were calling, or create, I should say, what they called at the time a general interest magazine. And it was an opportunity, or I guess it was a role where we all had to interview for it. And I remember it was a very daunting, Diego, you might remember if it's kind of similar, like it was a panel interview, the first time I ever in my life had to do a panel interview. And again, it was great experience looking back, because in college, having to go through that experience, it's very nerve-wracking, but once you're able to get past that and kind of survive such an intimidating interview or such an intimidating role. We just talked, Diego, about how you just submitted the latest issue of The Hook. Like, it is such a daunting thing, but once it's over and done and dusted, you're like, oh my gosh, I just did that. And how amazing was that? So I think that really everyone should, if you can't get an opportunity to work directly with student media, I highly encourage everyone I talk to find that opportunity, to find kind of a moment for yourself to push yourself to lead, whether it's, in class, or if you are part of an extracurricular kind of volunteer group, or, say you're waitressing or working out in the community. How can we find as individuals those moments to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, to push ourselves to lead? I find that has really been the biggest gift that student media has brought to me, as well as, The Hook and the East Carolinian. So clearly I'm very passionate about what I have to say. So I realized that was a long-winded answer.
You said you were a production manager. What is one of your favorite memories from production?
Kind of going back to the orientation publication. I'm drawing a blank on what they call it these days, but maybe y'all go ahead.
Pirate Preview?
That's it. Yeah. So Pirate Preview, at least from the production kind of management standpoint, the design standpoint, it was always this opportunity for us to come up with a really creative concept. If you think about the newspaper as it is, like the 100 words within these 3 to 5 lines, and then kind of call it a day. But with the Pirate Preview, it felt like we had a little bit more creative freedom. So with that, the issue I remember was we really tried to create the preview to be this treasure map, and had a lot of fun putting, an actual treasure map together, making the preview be, the look and the feel, all the way down to the texture of the paper. Like, we made it feel very old, like mappy, antique and mappish. So I think that's one of the biggest memories and kind of proudest accomplishments that I had, from that moment. Another memory I have during my time as production manager, every so often we were invited, student media and the East Carolinian were invited to, the showcase and the kind of the conference that we attended is escaping me, but so my second memory was we were invited to travel to New Orleans to do this national conference. And I believe prior to going to the conference, we were able to submit some of our best additions and some of our proudest work. And at the conference, we were awarded 2 or 3 best in show kind of newspapers within a few different categories. And that was wonderful. Again, team effort, always and forever, team effort when it comes to putting together any piece of content or anything really. But I'll never forget just not only being in New Orleans, but being with these people that they end up becoming family after a certain amount of time. Y'all know better than anyone. You're spending long days, a week with these individuals. So it was very rewarding to beat out all these other universities in the country, like Chapel Hill, Harvard. Yeah, like every single university was there. And so it was a real proud pirate moment for us to take some of those wins there.
So when it came to making the hook, who initially brought that idea up and who made the name?
So the name was our team. The opportunity came to be from our kind of faculty and staff at the time. John Harvey at the time was kind of running student media along with our advisors, Terrence Dove, a few others that were there, but pretty much they said, we want to expand student media beyond the channels that are available to students today. What we're missing is a general interest magazine. That was what they defined it as at the time. Very broad, like what is general interest magazine? So once they appointed somebody to become that first editor-in-chief, which was me, they handed us me and my team. Like I was responsible for picking the people that I wanted to be around me to help bring this concept to life, from designers to salespeople to writers, to production layout people. So literally just the whole kit and caboodle of magazine production. They went from we want you to create a general interest magazine, here you go, to, okay, wow, like this moment is real. So it was an entire summer of me, multiple folks within that student team, right? That John Harvey and Terrence Dove, they were kind of our faculty that were overseeing what we were doing, making sure, if we had questions or if we were challenged by things, that they were right there to guide us. But ultimately, every single decision, from the name, the hook, what it is today, to the size of the magazine, the paper that we were supposed to use, what is the cover story going to be? What is the definition of general interest? Like, what are we going to even cover? Was up to us. So again, huge opportunity, very daunting. I've never done this before. I don't really think many folks on my team have ever done that before, but wow, what a rewarding experience to go from an idea, never doing anything like that before, to a year later. It took us a full year to come up from like that idea to that very first issue that following spring. So yeah, it was just absolutely crazy. And I think the name, so that was the question. We were trying to embody piratey things without being too cheesy. And I remember, the name itself, there was probably 4 or 5 separate meetings over the course of a month or so of the summertime where we were discussing, like, okay, what was one? The plank. We were thinking of everything possible, walk the plank. And we were like, nah, that doesn't feel right. And then the hook. Oh, wait, the hook. Like, we're hooking people in, and the hook, it's like a core identifier for a pirate. So, and then, our designer was at the table, Justin, and he was like, oh, I can do so many cool elements with the curves of the hook. So it really became this, we kind of just knew right off the bat, after rounds of iterations, lots of brainstorming, lots of research, and just bouncing the ideas off of each other, not being afraid to use one another and kind of be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Oh, if there's a benefit from a design aspect, well, let's explore this a little bit more. So it was really fun. And I think that's the beauty of working with people that have so many different talents outside of your own, because they're able to help you get one step closer to that kind of final decision.
Is there any stories that you remember specifically or being proud of when you put in the hook?
I was just proud of the whole thing, not to like cheat your answer or cheat your question, but I think because again of it being the very first one, there was so much pressure. I probably put it on myself of making sure everything was interesting and what we were doing was correct because there was no example to pull from years previous. So I think just the sheer reality that we got it into stands, and not only that, but we kept the deadline. We didn't have to push the deadline. We had some really interesting stories around what was not even the new student media center, or I should say the new student center. It was Mendenhall to us. I don't know if Mendenhall is even an open or active building currently, but Mendenhall was our student center. And at that time, we were reporting on and kind of writing about the new student center that was to come, and being able to showcase the blueprints and really help the next class of students understand what exactly they're about to get into. The essence of the Hook and what our definition of a general interest magazine was at that time was making sure that we were articulating the entire community of East Carolina University of what it meant to be a pirate, both on campus and off. At the time, we felt like there was more than enough, stories and things that were happening around things going on campus, but we felt like there was a lack of two things: what was happening kind of behind the scenes on campus, meaning, those late night library hours, or, those all-nighters in those study groups, or even what was happening at, sup dogs late at night without the drinking part. But there was so many things happening with the community, both on campus and off, that we felt like, wow, we really have, we can tell stories that aren't being told yet. So I think, again, like just having that opportunity was memorable.
It's funny how you say you don't know if Mendenhall's open. That's where we currently are right now.
Yeah.
In the basement. That's where East Carolinian is located, and WZMB. We're right beside each other.
Oh, nice.
I think they're going to open it up soon.
It's already open now, I'm pretty
Okay,
sure. Yeah, it's like they renovated it completely, and it looks a lot better now.
I can't wait to see it when I come back next time. And I'm glad to hear that everyone is in one central building. At the time, we were in the self-help building downtown. So that was always fun, going from the dorm, walking to the self-help building, or, when we moved out of the dorms, I lived in a little house on the grid. So walking all the way downtown, it's a core staple of my experience at ECU. Like, of course, I remember my friends. Of course, I remember class. Of course, I remember graduation, all that. But my time at ECU was all things student media. And it's a community that will always stay in touch. I mean, right now, you're doing a showcase of folks throughout 100 years of student media. So I think it's something that all of us that are a part of are very proud and have every reason to be proud of. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that everyone is a little bit closer together and that Mendenhall is thriving. That's always good to hear too.
Yeah. And what can you tell me about Jarvis Hall? As you know, I had an interview with your husband yesterday, and I asked him what he'd like me to ask you. He just told me to ask you about Jarvis.
Oh, that is so sweet. Yeah. So Jarvis Hall, another core, component of my experience at ECU. Jarvis was a super tight-knit community. It was 2 floors. So the top floor was all girls and the bottom floor was all boys. I spent some time, visiting friends in other dorms, and I just didn't quite feel the same communal closeness in some of those other dorms, with like 5, 6, 7 floors compared to what I felt at Jarvis. So it very much was home away from home. Not only was it that way, but like we were all very like-minded in the sense of wanting to do good work and wanting to get good grades, because we knew good grades equals a good job. Like it really does. All of this, everything that you're doing, every minute of how you're spending your time at school right now will impact and reflect how your life will be outside. I absolutely promise you. So the moral of this story is surround yourself with people like-minded, like, yourselves, because I could not have gotten through the study guides or the team projects, the class projects, anything like that, could not have done it without the folks at Jarvis. To this day, my closest friends are a handful of ladies that I met freshman year right in Jarvis. Again, we had those kind of late night study sessions. And as you alluded to, Diego, at the time, I didn't know, but I ended up meeting who is now my husband, and who, by the way, we work together. I met him in Jarvis. We work together now, 10 plus years later. We're both kind of heading up and managing our own public relation and integrated communication agency. It's a agency that Jordan, my husband, he founded several years ago. And recently I joined him because of kind of what I was explaining earlier in the conversation of some of the experiences I've had along the way in my career, and how now I kind of felt like, wow, I can do this on my own. I can have some impact and some value with some clients of my own. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago at the School of Comms panel, and I'll just say it again, the folks that are around you today and the folks that are side by side with you in class, those are your best assets. Like those are truly the people who are going to help you the most along the way. So I know sometimes it can be easy to just get in class or go to the office or do your job and just get it out and go. But just try to be mindful of the value and the pot of gold that is just right there at your fingertips. So that's my PSA for everyone listening.
How well do you think student media has helped you in your career now?
Oh my gosh. Like I said, I would not be here if it wasn't for student media. Two things come to mind. So just personally, it helped me realize that all of life, whether it was figuring out how to create the hook and get that first issue published, or figuring out how to land that first job outside of college, or figuring out what I need to do to get a promotion, right? Like, you are not going to know every single facet of what needs to be done, but don't let that deter you or make you afraid to do it, right? Because I don't think anyone truly knows what we're doing. And I've experienced that firsthand. Like, you will not know every single thing when someone gives you an opportunity, but do it anyway. Because I guarantee you will figure it out, because you will have no choice. You will have to figure it out. So I definitely think, like, number one, student media helped me realize what I was capable of, which was way more than I thought my freshman year. So that's one thing. And the second one, boy, it just escaped me. Man, it was going to be a good one too. It'll come back to me, but we'll keep going, and I'm sure the second one will come back to me.
I also spoke with Dr. Elmore about you, Professor Elmore, Dr. Elmore. I spoke to her about I was going to interview you today, and she told me that you went to study abroad with her in London, that program.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
About that.
It was wonderful. Sorry, I'm distracted now because I'm trying to figure out what that second thing I was going to say. But so the study abroad trip with Dr. Elmore was absolutely wonderful. Again, most of the folks that attended were like Jarvis people and kind of individuals that I built very strong relationships with through some of my comms courses over the years. So we were very much there to do work. And to be honest with you, I'm about to like really be vulnerable here. It was not like the classwork was not just easy. Like I thought it was going to be like a fun trip. Oh, we're going to just write about what we experienced that day. Oh, no. They wanted you to make sure that you were doing everything as if you were in class. But you had this great opportunity to explore a new country, to really see what other communities, cultures care about and write about. So it was 2 weeks in London. We had all of the individuals that went on the trip. They put us into two different kind of flats, they called it, which were apartments in London. There was like a girls' one, obviously, and then there was one for the boys. But Dr. Elmore kept us very busy. We had tours with BBC, tours with Bloomberg. We met a correspondent from NPR, like all of the Guardian, every single news outlet, established media entity that business and kind of professionals outside of college listen to and make decisions based on. We had the opportunity to shake hands with those editors and those individuals. So again, and you don't realize when you are going through something, you don't realize how much of a gift it will be for you, for your future self. So at that time, like I said, it was so much fun and we were having a blast. It was exhilarating, so many things that were around us that were new. We were listening to people's accents and how they were talking about things. Like, it was just so awesome. But there was a very real element there of, look, you're shaking hands with the editor of The Guardian and you're about to graduate in 2 years. How are you going to make this moment? How are you going to stand out in this moment? How are you going to be memorable to this individual? So I think it really helped me realize, wow, this line of work, being a communication expert, whether you're following the field of journalism, whether you're following the field of public relations, editing, production, it is serious business. Like, people, it's influential, it's important. So it made me very proud to be a part of this industry. And it also helped me realize the world around us and, how to really capitalize on very special moments. It helped me realize, like, okay, next time I'm in a room full of important people, now I'll know what that feels like, if that makes sense.
Oh, did you ever remember that second part of that answer?
No, I didn't. That's another thing that happens with communication professionals. We just have so many ideas all at once that sometimes it just loses you. But it'll come back, I'm sure.
Yes. And about the study abroad thing, I also studied abroad with Dr. Elmore. We went to Poland my year.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what was your experience like?
Yeah, she definitely kept us busy, and that workload was nothing to play with. That was definitely a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, no, I encourage everyone who has the opportunity to do it, but I always try to preface, like, it's not a vacation. You're going to have to carve some time out to do some work because it's a weighted grade. It impacts that GPA at the end of the day. So, yeah, it's all about balance. And I think another thing, here's the second one, boom, prioritization. So, I wish I had the energy that I had 10 years ago, because there is so much that you have to balance as an individual. For folks in school, you're juggling class, you're juggling studying for tests, you're juggling working out and just well-being, you're juggling family, friends, work, extracurriculars. When you're in student media, for me, when I remember, it was grounding. It helped me ground my schedule because I had nothing to do, but every Monday and Wednesday, I have to be at the East Carolinian. I have to be there to put out the newspaper the next day. When I was heading up the Hook, doing editor-in-chief duties, that was a majority of my days. I even had to kind of front load class at that first semester and really have one or two classes that second semester and make sure I could give all of my time to the magazine. So it really helps you understand the importance of scheduling and prioritization and time blocking and making sure that you are prepared to meet deadlines. Can you give other people deadlines? Can you communicate effectively an idea? Diego, you might have an idea for the next story of the Hook, but if you are struggling to articulate it in a way that you're visualizing, you might just be disappointed when that writer or that designer comes back with what they interpreted it as, right? So there's nothing that I can't say, I can't say enough good things about being in student media. It's really shaped who I am today for sure. And whether it's, again, student media or an internship at, the local broadcast company, or even interning at the student rec center, like, find an opportunity to get involved and to lead, because it will really open up your eyes to seeing what you can give to the world. It's just a really influential and powerful position to have. So that is my spiel. I appreciate y'all.
All right. Well, thank you, Summer, for joining us on this episode. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate y'all.
The East Carolinian proudly celebrates 100 years, marking a century of covering the stories of ECU, Greenville, and the surrounding areas. As part of this milestone, we invite you to join us throughout 2025 on a journey through our history. Our dedicated anniversary webpage offers a curated collection of nostalgic highlights, vintage articles, archive photos, and trivia.
In addition to these weekly updates, the pages serve as a gateway to exclusive 100th year anniversary merchandise, including a commemorative planner and t-shirt designed to honor these landmark occasions. Visit theeastcarolinian.com/100. Again, theeastcarolinian.com/100.